I am going to fight to make sure this is valuable time for you. I know you guys carved out times. I know some of you are on Eastern time, and this is family time. I know some of you are on Ireland time, and this is bedtime. So I appreciate you popping on here. It means a lot. I don't take it for granted. Hopefully, I give you some good stuff, and if not, there's some Q&A at the end. All right. So, I've been ruminating on this for a long time, guys. My coaches are always telling me I need to stick outcomes on this kind of stuff. Like I always just stick a topic in, like how to negotiate, right? And they're always saying, dude, we got to talk outcomes so people are excited to be here. And so I apologize if the title was a little bit clickbaity, but I will deliver on exactly what I said of what it looks like to build a 100K a month land business in 2025. So with that, I think we got, about 50 here with us. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off. As I do, I'm curious, where are you guys tuned in from? Everybody just drop in the chat. I love for this to be interactive. So if you do have questions throughout, I don't mind if you want to throw them in the chat. Obviously, just don't, interrupt. But tell me where you're coming from. Okay, I see a Windy City. Yeah, thank you, James. Israel. Okay, sweet. Germany. Okay, I didn't realize we had so many international on here. Spokane, Washington, Nashville, Michigan, Southern California, Tacoma, Washington. Did you get moved, Peter? Or are you always based in Tacoma? Sweet.
I've been here
You've been here. Okay, I didn't realize that.
since at least 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron is in Columbus, Ohio. Cool. Kaylee is also based out of Columbus, Ohio, so that's fun. Ireland, Indiana, Denver, Montana, Phoenix. Okay, sweet. I appreciate everybody being so active here. Well, let's go ahead and get kicked off. All right, guys. I know it's 5 minutes in, so let's start talking about some meat. I'm gonna do a little bit of background before we do. By like reel 7 of presentation, I promise we'll get into some real meat. Okay. So with that, today we're gonna be talking about the 100K per month guide to flipping land in 2025. I want to just start by saying that, like, guys, this is some really cool stuff that I prepped today. I've not presented on some of this stuff before. I'm going to show a couple of flow charts that honestly are a work in process, but everybody that stays till the end, I will ask Kaylee to go ahead and email some of those out in a PDF format. So there's some fun stuff here. I would encourage you really pay attention, soak this stuff in, write down questions. Okay. If you don't feel like you're going to get a lot of value from this, you're welcome to go ahead and drop. I know this is a difficult time of day for some, but I really want to make sure this is good for you folks. So I'm going to start by showing you just like what me and Ben have been doing at Assets for Acres the first couple months of this year. This was fun for me. I went into our bookkeeping and grabbed all our HUDs for the year. People are always asking for HUDs. Patrick, I know I led a mastermind where a good friend of ours was asking for HUDs when we started. So I went ahead and just pulled our HUDs for the year and where we kicked off. So in January, these are all of our HUDs for January. These are just sale prices. So keep in mind, obviously, these are not profits. But generally speaking, most of our cost basis on our deals are between 45 and 60% of the land value. Some a little lower, some a little higher. All of these were properties owned. Okay. And so for the month of January, we did just over $500,000 in sales, which was honestly surprising to me. I didn't realize we'd sold that much land then. But January was a very busy month. We had a lot of closings. So these are all our HUDs from that scattered throughout. This is ugly. I snipped it this morning. In February, we sold 2 lots. These were the last 2 of a subdivide project. So these are pure profit. We had basically no cost basis on these 2. For the month of March, we sold 1 property for $200,000. This was owner finance. So hence the credit right here. We did sell the note. We've already got another piece of land under contract to sell for $175,000. We've got a $50K assignment coming in, another $35K assignment coming in by the end of the month. March is looking good. We've already got some stuff brewing for April. So we've got this contract right here on a property. I had to snip different parts of the contract to show closing dates, April 30th, 2025. It was the longer closing timeline. But you'll also see a sale price here, $175,000. I also got a full price offer on a property. It wasn't under finance offer, but on a property we bought for, I think it was $240,000. And we just got an offer yesterday at $499,000. So $500,000. So the business has been busy. Okay. And my goal is to show you guys basically how I see the math. of how all of this will work. Patrick said, hey, I wouldn't trust this presentation if you didn't show HUDs. You're hilarious, dude. Patrick's a really good friend of mine, guys. If you don't know Patrick Otis, he's a great guy. He's a goofball. I mean that as a compliment. Love you, dude. But this is what we've been doing the beginning of the year, and we're already seeing, really good, consistent fruit from it, which has been fun. So who this presentation is for today is specifically land investors growing their business. If you're stagnant and want to stay stagnant, if you're at a number you're happy with, if you don't have any room to grow, if you don't want to grow, this is not for you. Land investors who want the roadmap to consistent six-figure months, that's what we're doing. Land investors and flippers who want predictable deal flow. Guys, let me know in the comments, you guys want predictable deal flow? Yes or no? Let me know right now. I want to know, do we want predictable deal flow? Yes, please. Definitely. Yes. Heck yeah. Yes. Super choppy. I got sick of the choppy stuff. I'll tell you a little bit about my journey here soon too. So who this presentation is not for? Newbies, if you're brand new, you're welcome to be on this presentation. It might just be a little dense for you, okay? If you've never done a deal, there are going to be some things here that are very business specific, all right? Very business specific. And so it might not make sense. Number two, if you're lazy, all right, we're not going to be good friends. I'm not lazy. I love working. Like, I'm a maniac, okay? I literally remember, Kaylee, I was texting you when I was flying back from Madrid, Spain on Monday, and I was like, get me off this plane so I can get to work. I'm so sick of this, right? People who want to be average, this presentation is not for you. If your goal is to live an average life and do average things and have average income, this ain't for you. And investors that already know everything. Guys, if you already know everything, I got nothing to teach you, okay? Phil asks you partner on deals. Yep, some of those deals we've got partners on, Phil, totally. Great question. I think it is, most investors partner with a lot of people on deals. We got funders in some, we got JVs on some others. Some of those are our own, so it just depended on the deal. Okay, so my goal for the webinar today is to show you what I consider the best way to get to consistent six-figure months through what I call Land Closer's seven-figure formula, all right? Sounds cool, right? So I'm going to show you exactly how to close deals consistently, and I'm going to show you exactly how we build a machine that you actually love running, okay? Now, before I do, Blake said I just quadruple dialed 5 sellers this afternoon. Blake, let us know in the chat, did it work? Because I pentuple dialed one yesterday. She answered and hung up, and then I called her 2 more times, and she let it go to voicemail. So then I called her husband, and he picked up. Okay, sweet. So just a little bit about my background. I see a lot of faces on here that I've not seen before, so I don't know who knows me. But I've been doing land for about 5 years now. I've done everything from flip, wholesale, assignments, double closes. We're finishing up our first entitlement. We've done subdivides. We've done on market. We've done off market. We've done PPC, PPL, texting, cold calling, direct mail. I haven't knocked on any doors yet. That's probably the only acquisition channel I haven't done. Land doesn't have a lot of doors. I guess they've got owners that do, but I haven't done a lot of door knocking. Outside of that, though, I'm currently running a staff of 3. So we've got Kaylee, who's on here, and then we've got 2 gals on our team that do sales, Veronica and Taylor. They rock. And then me and my business partner, Ben. If you don't know Ben, you should. He rocks. Happily running a 7-figure land business and teaching other investors how to do the same. So a little bit about my background as to why I care so much about what we're talking about today, okay? If you don't know this side of my story, I don't share this side very often. I did once 3 months ago and I hated it, and people responded well to it, so I'm sharing it again, okay? On the left, you're going to see, I found this today, actually. This is a screenshot I sent my brother after the first chunk of a deal sold. And I was 23 years old and had $250,000 in my bank account. You'll see the timestamp up here is September 30th, 2021. I remember looking at that and being like, dang, my brother said, I won't believe it till I see the bank screenshot. So I sent him a picture. This is ugly on my phone, on my computer, because at the time I was banking with Wintrust Bank, who I no longer bank with, which is why I couldn't just pull up these records now and show you the wire. But they didn't have a mobile app, which is why it's taken like this. So point being, this was the first part of the deal. The second part of the deal, we sold for another 100 grand. So I'm 23 years old. This was one of a couple of deals I did that year, and I'd made well over $300,000. And in that time, I said, sweet, I got money. So what did I do? I bought a $35,000 car. I did not have a nice picture of my Honda CRV. So I took this one I had of the license plate and blacked out the license plate for you guys. I bought a rental property. This is in Valparaiso, Indiana. I bought this sucker on market. I think I bought it for 172, 20% down, conventional, investor type loan. I got a 3.85 rate on it. I did sell the house. I know people told me I shouldn't, but I wanted my cash back out. I ended up making 50 grand, neither here nor there. But I put money into that house. I spent about 40 grand on masterminds and coaching. I spent about 50 grand on marketing. And then interest rates went up. Does anybody remember in 2022 when interest rates went up and deals just stopped selling for a bit? Yeah, so that was when all this happened. I was cocky. I was young. I was spending money on marketing because that's what everybody said to do. They said, hey, man, if you spend money on mail, you'll get more deals. And so, you know what I did? I spent money on mail and I spent money on PPC and I spent money on cold calling and I hired my first VA. Oh, you hire a VA, they'll get deals done for you. It's passive income, right? So I thought, and I ended up getting down from this on the left, which was one of a couple wires that month, to 9 grand in my bank account. Now, I had some of my own money in deals. I had assets. I had the house. I had stuff. But like everybody in this industry knows cash is king at some level. You need cash to be able to run your business. You've got payroll, you've got marketing, you've got all kinds of stuff, right? And so the point being, 9 grand in the bank, guys, was not good. I was like, how did I get here? I thought I was doing all the right things. I hired the mentors. I was in the masterminds. I paid my car in cash. I only bought the rental property when I had 5 times that in my bank account, right? So what did I do wrong? And I got stuck. I was still doing deals. I was still doing deals with all that marketing, but I was doing like 1 to 3 deals a month. Is anybody here like really stuck in that 1 to 3 deals a month? Guys, it feels like such a hamster wheel to be in that 1 to 3 deal a month range. When you're doing 1 to 3 deals a month, you never know where the next like cash hit is going to come from. Because if you sell one, right, you have just enough to pay for your overhead that month and some, right? Even if you have 2 or 3, one of those might fall apart every time those get moved forward. Like it sucks. Yeah, Patrick said 0 to 4. That's probably more accurate. 0 to 3 deals a month is what I was at. And those months where you do 3, you're like, sweet, I'm at 3 deals a month. No, you did 3 that month, right? But the point being, we got stuck and I couldn't figure out why. I was doing the right things. I was focused on spending the money on marketing and I hired people and I scaled like everybody told me to, and I wasn't making more money, okay? Now, I know we all talk about doing deals. How would you guys feel if at the end of this presentation, you knew how to actually make more money? Does anybody here want more money in the bank? Drop a yes in the chat if you want more money in the bank. Yes. Evan, yes. Jason, yes. Garrett, thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes. Ben and I have been talking a lot about how we make sure we get cash in the bank this year. As you can see, we held true to that with all of our sales in the first half of the year. Not even the first half, it's March. The point being, I hated being stuck. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to not be stuck in this stupid 0 to 4, 0 to 3, 1 to 3 deals a month, what it looks like to actually get out of it. Let's set some real expectations, okay? So then I found a better way, all right? And I'm sorry, I know this presentation's cheeky, but it's good for attention, all right? I need everybody to pay attention so they absorb this stuff, all right? So I found a better way to do this, all right? And what that looked like, now let me go back, actually. I just want to talk. The biggest thing for us in all of this being a better way, and so many of you have heard me talk about this before, right? But it was focusing on key activities. It was making sure I had the right people on the team. And it's all this stuff that's going to sound super floofy in terms of, okay, we have leads. How do we turn this into deals, right? Well, we're going to break that down today, okay? We're going to break down how we turn leads into deals, how we have consistent deal flow in the business. Because I think we can all get consistent lead flow. Just spend more money on mail and cold callers and texters and you'll have leads. I think we all know that works at some level, right? Or at least people that have been doing deals for any amount of time know that like there's leads out there. That's not the problem. The problem is I need a deal that I can buy so that I can go sell it and make some money in the bank, okay? So I figured out, sweet, here's the formula to be converting more deals. And then I started teaching it to other people. Here are 2 people, one of which I know is on the call with her daughter at jiu-jitsu right now. I got my gal, Katie, here on the left. Katie and her husband, Brian, rock. I worked with them for about 2 months. She said hi in Zoom. Hi, Katie. when they came to me, they were doing, what was it? I want to say you guys were doing like 2 to 4 deals a month, maybe 1 to 4 deals a month. You were getting tons of leads. You were taking tons of action. These guys are awesome action takers. I spent a few days with Brian here in Dallas. We worked together for a couple of months, and by the end of it, I remember, Katie, you were between like 5 and 8 contracts a month when we were getting finished up, right? Nothing changed. No lead flow changed, right? All that changed was we focused on what works, okay? Which is what we'll be talking about today. It was the same with my buddy down here on the bottom right, Kevin Murray. Kevin had a fever of 103 yesterday, so I don't think he's on here today. But it was the same story with Kevin. They were kind of in this like 1 to 4 contract a month time zone. We started working together. I actually had him fire one of his team members because they were just not good on the team. Actually, Katie, I think we had a similar situation where we had to let go of somebody early on.
Yeah, actually, we did.
Yeah,
Same
we
exact thing. The first week.
the first week, because when we have the wrong people in the business, it does not serve us well, right? It slows us down. So
Thank you. Best decision ever.
you are very welcome. You are very welcome. It's so fun working with you and Brian. But Kevin had the same story. And by the end of it, he was hitting 2 contracts a week consistently. He calls those deals meatballs. Meatballs is what he calls them. And I love them. Right? Jason said hard to fire. Jason, it's only hard if you make it hard, my friend. Let's talk about that in the Q&A. It's not that hard, right? But we can chat more about firing later. Firing it sucks. I'm not going to pretend like it's easy, but it is one of the most essential things you can do to your business. Keeping bad talent, or I don't even want to call them talent, bad people on your team is probably the most toxic, poisonous thing you can do to your business if you don't want to get better, if you don't want to grow, okay? So with that, today, here's what we're going to cover, all right? I've got what I call 3 secrets, all right? 3 secrets. Number 1 is how we hire and feed killer closers, right? What does it actually take to be a killer closer? What do the inputs and outputs need to look like? What does that look like on different marketing channels right now? Number 2 is training and leading those closers. I know a lot of people that are scared to hire their first closer because they don't fully understand how they would lead them effectively, right? And how to ramp them up and how for them to be good, especially if you don't even know how to close well, right? And then number 3 is how do we create deals out of sellers who want market value? Okay, let me know in the chat right now, guys. How many of you have sellers and it feels like they all want market value? Do all of your leads feel like they want market value? Tell me in the chat right now. Definitely, yes. Exclamation point. 10x, 3x, all of them. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Unrealistic, above market value. Totally. A lot of them do. A lot of them do. Okay. The good news is people are still getting deals. And you want to know how they're getting deals is what we're going to be talking about today. All right. So we're going to break this down one by one. All right. And this is going to be a lot of fun. The first one we're going to be talking through is US-based closers. Okay. US-based closers. And so I want to tell you guys a story. The first is this book here called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. If any of you read this book before, let me know in the chat. Anybody read this book before? If not, I highly recommend it. You'll see the cover photo here is this goldfish hopping from one bowl to another. The premise of this book is that we as entrepreneurs, as people, every time we're growing, guys, we're like snakes. We have to shed our old skin to become a new person. Right? To get rid of your old identity, there's a lot of head work that needs to happen. And guys, like I came from nothing. Like I love my family dearly, but when I was 9 years old, my dad left my family. We were homeless. He left my mom. He maxed out all our credit cards, dipped out. We were Section 8 food stamps. Like things sucked. Okay. And so you can imagine when I started making even the smallest amount of money, my brain told me, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve this. Okay. So I watched this in my business where every time I would make like 25, 30 grand in a month in the biz, I would get sick. I would stop getting deals. Something would change. And I learned there was actually a subconscious piece there to it where I would self-sabotage myself because I did not subliminally feel like I was worthy. So I did 2 things. Number 1, I hired a life coach. If you've never hired a life coach, I recommend it. Okay. They are really good at helping you get through head work. I've been working with my guy Stan for over 3 years now, and he rocks. Okay. And just a quick reminder, guys, if you're not on mute, please mute yourself. Number 2, though, was, hey, I know money in this business comes from acquisitions. So you know what I did is I hired my first acquisition manager. And I made this decision in October of 2022. And it was the best decision of my life. Well, okay, marrying my wife was the best decision of my life. This was the second best decision of my life. Okay. Now, that brought us to our acquisition manager. We still have on the team today. Her name's Veronica. She is a rock star. Okay. And I'll tell you guys, I didn't have a ton of training for her. I'll talk more about that later. But the big leap helped me realize I was self-sabotaging myself. I was stopping myself from growing. So I just needed to get out of my own way. And if I put somebody else in that seat, I'm out of my own way. That's a huge benefit of bringing on a US-based closer. All right. Now, the HUDs that I have in front of here, I tracked down because, guys, I literally cried when we got this contract. This is the first deal we ever got that I didn't touch. The team had texted without me. I didn't pick the market. Like the lead came in without me knowing. Comps happened without me. Veronica locked it up in November. So I interviewed her in October. I hired her in November. A week later, we locked it up on a 90-day contract and double closed this thing. You'll see we got it under contract for 30K, right? Total HUDs, we had to wire out 31. I think we might have used a transactional funder. We ended up selling the property. We listed it at 60. Got an offer for 54.5. They ended up not liking the easement, negotiated us down to 52. We ended up getting proceeds of 49,137. We netted about 18 grand, 19 grand, something like that. Somebody else can do the math. The HUDs are right here. Okay. Patrick said he wouldn't trust me if I didn't put HUDs out. So there are the HUDs, my man. But the point here being, I needed to remove myself from acquisition so that it could happen consistently, right? If any of you ever had or still have your W-2, like it's not really as much of a choice for you to do work. Whereas when you own your own business, like we almost take pride in the early days of being an entrepreneur that you don't have to work if you don't want to. And that can manifest itself of you literally holding yourself back from hitting new goals, from achieving new ceilings. And so you need to remove yourself where you're holding yourself back, right? Which is why I'm such a big proponent to bring on a US-based closer. I'll talk about why in a little bit more, right? This was my aha moment. All right. Now, I'm not the only guy that's experienced something like this. All right. My buddy Ben Gallant and his acquisition manager, Nick Stately, are a dream team. These guys are savages together. But I was literally texting him last night. Okay. So you'll see that I might use you as an example in a presentation. I literally asked him. He gave me a thumbs up. So here it is, guys. I got his permission. I was like, hey, dude, what were you bringing in before you brought Nick on the team? He didn't have an acquisition manager that was US based. I can't remember if he was using a Philippines based VA or if he was doing this himself. But it was, hey, what were you doing? And he said, before he came on full time, I would say maybe a couple deals a month, right? We all know what a couple means. It means 0 to 4, okay? I love Ben, but just the reality of it, we were all in that hamster wheel at one time, or a lot of us are stuck there right now, right? And so he said, that's what I figured. And I said, what are you clipping now? Like 6 to 10? I know he got 7 signed last week, which was crazy. He said minimum 5, KPI 7, stretch goal is 10. So 5 to 10 a week, a month, right? How many of you would be pretty happy with like 7, 10 contracts a month pretty consistently? Or maybe that's already what you're getting, but would you be pretty happy 7, 8, 9, 10 contracts a month? All right, guys, Nick is a beast. Yeah, Katie, you heard some of his calls. He is a beast. Absolutely, very much so. Yes, 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 definitely. And guys, like they're mostly just texting. If you see, you literally see it right here, right? Brought them in for the texting platform. So you guys that are texting, you've got no excuses. This is what they're doing. They're texting too, okay? So I'm going to break down, here's what team structures look like. I see off a couple different lead generation channels for people that are hitting 6-figure months right now. I talk to a lot of teams every single day. I wanted to show you guys, the first thing is it's so important we set proper expectations to know what level of inputs and outputs it takes to actually get these results, okay? And so the first one here, I drafted this up in Whimsical. Ben, if you're still watching, man, I took my stab at Whimsical today and I came back with this and I'm pretty proud of it. But for a texting team, guys, if you are trying to clip 6-figure months, your minimum, like the least you can do to scrape by and maybe hit this goal is at least 50,000 texts a month. Keep in mind, there's about 22 working days in a month, right? Don't use 30, it's about 22, right? There's 5 days in a week. There's 4 days and some overlap, 4 weeks and some overlap for every working month. So you got 22 on average. So it's about 2,500 texts a day if you want to be, at this. I recommend hitting closer to like 75,000 text messages a month though. And it's funny, we were just talking about this with Cody Coulivier. I don't know if I'm saying your last name right, man. I know it's French, but Cody, we were just talking to you about how you were like, that might be my problem. I'm not sending enough texts. We're at like 10,000 a month or something. I'm like, totally, dude. We got to get more for you to hit this level of output. And so I recommend people to be at least 75,000 I know, Katie, that's what you guys were at for a long time. Was that 70K or so? I know that's what Nick and Ben were at. And I know a lot of people were looking to scale up even to 100 right now. And I also know there's some stuff going on with launch control right now. So I'm sorry to hear that. People are switching around to Roar. But all that being said, that's what I want to see. I want to see a minimum lead count of about 140 leads a month. I know that's a lot, okay? But what that comes back to is about 30 to 35 leads. Keep in mind that's different than net leads, and then that's different than offers, right? So these go through a cycle. We'll talk about metrics a little bit later. But the point being, for me to see six-figure months, guys, like this is what the output needs to look like to make at least 80 offers every month. So about 20 a week to get about 5 to 8 contracts a month, okay? If you can do those, if you can do that, then you will more likely than not be hitting six-figure months pretty consistently. Now, these are teams of just acquisitions, mind you. So there are other roles in the business. I'm just looking at what acquisition roles the team might look like. So you've got your business owner up top, right? You've got a closer. So guys, I really like a dedicated closer here. The whole point here is if I have somebody who can take 5 to 8 appointments every single day to be working this stuff, you need to be generating enough business for them. That's the formula, right? And you might say, Ajay, like that's a lot of data. I'm like, cool. We need to pull a lot of data. Do you want to hit 6 figures in a month? Yes? Sweet. Pull more data. Like, there's no sugarcoating that. That's the reality. This is what it takes, okay? So I see the teams on average have like a data VA / comp plus DD VA. Sometimes this is 2 separate VAs. It just depends on the team. I'll see 1 to 2 texting VAs. Depends on the team, depends on your output. If you're at 50K a month, you could probably squeak by with 1. As soon as you get past that though, at 75, you're probably going to want 2. Okay. And then I have a lead manager right here. And notice I do have that lead manager in yellow. I want to make a quick disclaimer that it is really important that if you have text messaging outsourced for whatever reason, like you're using a third-party vendor, you have to have a lead manager. Okay. When you do stuff in-house, meaning like the texting teams on your team, you have the ability to go ahead and define qualification standards, right? So I can say, hey, this criteria, this question, this, that, and the other to determine the quality of the lead. With a lot of third-party vendors at texting and cold calling, you can't really control the quality. And a lot of times they're just throwing you anybody that says they would sell for the right price, right? Now, I'm not saying all those leads are junk, and I'm not poo-pooing any of those, third-party vendors. Some of them are fan-freaking-tastic. But I have to know the game I'm playing. And if I'm working with a third-party vendor in texting or cold calling, I'm just going to need a lead manager. When I say a lead manager, guys, that can be a Filipino VA, 5 to 10 bucks an hour overseas, Filipino, Central American, whatever. And they're taking the first call, they're trying to get an asking price, and then they're booking an appointment for your closer, right? They have to verify though that the seller would sell. That's like the biggest thing. Like I don't want my closers on the phone with leads that don't want to sell, right? That needs to be the baseline, would sell their property. Because I mean, God, we've all been on the phone with leads that are like, well, yeah, I mean, I think I would sell, maybe, I don't know, right? And it's just like, dude, I don't know what to do with that, right? Like, would you sell if I put a real offer in front of you? Maybe I'd consider it. Like, dude, okay, is it even worth it for me to make an offer, right? We can play with scripting later. But the point being, here's what team structure looks like texting. Here's what it looks like cold calling, almost identical. I'm seeing more and more people install cold calling in their business right now. And I'm a big fan of it. Honestly, I'm a big fan of it. I work with a lot of people that are bringing in cold callers in-house. And I think the nice thing about it being in-house is number one, it's extremely cost effective. Number two is you can control the quality of the lead, right? You can do call reviews and you can audit it and you can make your own scripts and you can do all those things that really help you control the quality of your lead. You can have them set appointments. You can do all kinds of things that essentially you cannot really do when you have it outsourced, right? And so there's just power in being able to do that in-house. Again, really essential, you have a lead manager in for that level of lead though. And so, sorry, I thought I heard a sound here. Generally speaking though, I would say minimum output here, 2 callers in-house. I recommend 3. When you've got 3 callers in-house, you're going to be ripping a lot of leads, okay? Minimum lead count, I find a good cold caller should be putting up 3 to 4 quality leads per day. 22 working days in a month, you can do the math. 2 callers can get here at about 120 minimum leads. Again, I want to be at 80 offers a month. Like when I say offers, guys, I mean on the phone, hey, Peter, I'd like to give you 20 grand for your property. I don't know that I'd make the offer like that, but my point being is like, did you actually present them with a number, right? Contracts, again, we're going to be clipping at 5 to 8. And keep in mind with your contracts, guys, we'll talk about this when we get to the KPI section here, but I want to be very intentional to set the expectation that about 25, 30, 35% of contracts fall out in due diligence. Okay. So if you get 8 contracts signed, you're only going to get 5 to the finish line because of a title issue, because of due diligence, because of comping wrong, because of some level of uncertainty. And it's even a little more if you just do double closings. So with that, sorry guys, I'm getting over a cold. And so all the talking and being really animated is wearing up my throat a lot faster. So I've got Starbucks right here and a lemon LaCroix. Apparently it's limoncello, which is funny. If anybody here has been to Italy and ever had limoncello, it's not alcohol. It's just sparkling water, but still. Okay. With that, oh, Clay, did you drop some metrics, dude? Team of 10 callers. Caller can produce 1.5 leads per day. That's crazy, man. We should talk about that offline. I'm really curious about what that looks like. So with that, let's keep chugging. Guys, mail is like my least experienced in terms of like what's working today. So this is like my choppiest. What I will say is the teams that I know that are crushing it with mail are doing blind offers. They have to be really good. They're doing blind offers. They're scrubbing with land insights. They're doing a really good job on the front end. They're doing a really good job comping. They're working in areas with good demand. And they're getting about a 0.5% response rate. So on 20,000 letters, you might get 100 leads, right? On 100 leads, you want to make at least 70 offers. And you can clip at about 5 to 8 contracts a month there, maybe better. Like I've seen a lot better with some people, but generally speaking, like you can close a lot better with your mail leads. They're just a higher quality because they're more inbound versus outbound. Okay, sweet. So just a quick team consideration here too. Like this is just the acquisition side of the business. All right. There's additional roles that you're going to need on the dispo side, on the management side, right? So I have an EA. A lot of people have EAs. Transaction coordinators become really important as you scale up transactions. Disposition / sales manager, right? Especially if you're doing some double closings in-house and you're in markets that realtors aren't super friendly. All that kind of stuff. Super, super important. So yeah, just a couple considerations there. Let's keep moving. Here's compensation I see for good US-based closers right now. Okay. And there's 1,000 different ways you can structure this for a US-based closer. But what I see is for a base for a lot of US-based closers, some will go 0 on the base, which guys, this is like a sliding scale. Okay. So the higher your base is, generally speaking, the lower your commission is. On the flip side, you can imagine the lower your base is, the higher your commission should be, right? And it should equal a certain level of equilibrium. The more risk your employee takes, I would say they should be compensated well for it. So I know some people that are commission only up to, I've heard 17.5%, 20% in some instances, which is, you might say is really aggressive. But hey, if you want like an A player that's going to be an absolute savage, like they don't want to get paid C player rates. It's just the reality, right? So you need to put together a compensation package that actually makes sense for them. And some of you might be saying like, dude, I'm not doing enough deal flow where like I could pay this to myself. And I'm like, sweet. Then you're probably just not doing the real work of an acquisition manager. You're probably not putting in 5 to 8 offers per day. Because if you were on quality leads, you'd be getting results that could definitely pay that out. That's just the reality. Okay. And so base range between 0 and 4 grand a month, super normal in the sales world. I recommend about 2 grand a month. Some people will do like a base draw, which a draw is like against commission. So like the first, $2,000 in commissions, they wouldn't make a commission. And then after that they would. And that way they're guaranteed a certain amount of salary, but it's de-risked to the business owner a little bit. Alternatively, some people will do like, hey, your first 90 days, you get a base and then it tapers off. Also very normal in the sales world. And so Clay says, great chart. Keep in mind, it's volume-based commissions. If you have a lot of volume, it's different. Totally, dude. Totally. It's a great point. And so, yeah, if you're doing a bunch of small transactions, like you might need a slightly higher commission. If you're just doing really big deals, like, yeah, you're probably going to have a slower commission. There's also slower payouts though. So that's another thing I want to be mindful of is if I'm doing big deals with slow payouts, I'm probably going to need a bigger base commission anyways, because like, dude, very little full-time staff is going to be able to commit to wonky, inconsistent pay schedule that's like out of their control, right? So there's a control piece here of our business being a slower cash conversion cycle. Like not all properties sell very quickly. They might do the work today. We find a buyer in 60 days. It takes them 30 to close. I'm sitting here in March. You're telling me I'm not getting a paycheck till June, right? Not a lot of people can do that. Okay. And so that's where it becomes important for us to say, hey, if we want growth, sometimes we got to take some risk for our staff. So $2,000 a month, pretty normal. You can scale it up a bit, scale it down a bit. I'll tell you the biggest thing I recommend is if you find talent you really like, ask them what they need. What do you need to survive so you're not stressed and your wife pressures you to quit your job and get a job somewhere else, right? Assuming you've got, like a young guy on the roll. Commissions, again, I see between 2 and 15%. Really just depends on deal volume, deal size, et cetera, et cetera. Recommending the average investor that's doing, 5 to 8 contracts a month, like a 7% commission, super generous if you're doing deals at about, $15,000 a deal, we'll call it. Like if you're in that very normal range of $15,000 a deal, handful of deals a month, 7% is like pretty, middle of the way. Go up to 10 if you want to. And again, the more aggressive you get, you're going to retain better is what I'll say. So, big myths I hear when it comes to bringing on US-based closers. Number one, you might be thinking, I can't afford a closer, right? But like, guys, it's actually the other way around in reality. You can't afford anything because you don't have a closer, okay? So if you feel like your business is inconsistent, especially if you have lead flow, you aren't doing the role of a closer. Like there's some people that are really good business operators that are phenomenal closers. Katie's a good example. Kevin was a good example. Kieran, if you're still on here, dude, you're a great example. You're doing the work of a closer, so you don't necessarily need to bring one on to be hitting these 6-figure months, right? But the reality stands that someone needs to do the work. Me and my own business, I unfortunately had a bunch of head work and it just didn't make sense for me to get there consistently fast enough. So I brought somebody in and it helped us scale up quicker, okay? But the reality is like, you can't afford it because you don't have a good closer, okay? I pulled a couple of quotes here. So first one, Marshall Goldsmith. That's the guy that first coined the term, what got you here won't get you there, right? So, hey, if you're stuck in that hamster wheel of 1 to 3 deals a month and you haven't changed anything, like keep in mind, that's not what'll get you to the next level, right? I read this in a book, and Ben, I can't remember what book this was, man. I remember we read it a couple years back together. But it's this expression, what got you here will keep you here. So it takes this quote from Marshall Goldsmith even a degree further that says like, hey, if you're really stuck, like don't do the same thing, right? Which is also why I pulled this quote from Albert Einstein that says, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? So if like every month you're doing the same thing and you're just like hoping that the business is going to heal itself, hope is not a business plan. I'm sorry, okay? So my recommendation in terms of changes as we're going into 2025, I recommend you either bring on a US-based closer or you act as one. Those are your options, right? And I say US-based, like Kieran, you're based in Ireland. Like that's cool. All right. Yeah, Katie, hope's not a strategy. Exactly. Okay, so now we're gonna come down to secret number 2, training and leading killer closers. Because guys, you're probably sitting here thinking, Ajay, that sounds great, but I don't even know how to close well myself. How am I supposed to bring on some savage and like lead him well? And I'm like, well, I would tell you, yeah, not get blackmailed. Patrick, there was a culture gap there, man. We can talk about that offline, but yeah, that guy sucked. I'm sorry about that. So when I started doing call reviews and KPIs, right? And everybody knows what I'm saying. When I say a call review, we're going to talk more about the cadence later, but that's, hey, my acquisition manager brings me a call. I listen to it and I give them feedback, right? Or I'm jumping into KPIs, which stand for key performance indicators. They are basically just a measurement of the activities we perform to note whether we are like performing or not, right? That's what I'm looking for. When I started doing these with Veronica, I looked like that guy. I was scratching my head. I had no idea what I'm doing. I remember when Ben and I brought KPIs to the team, they were like, are there numbers you want us to hit? And I was like, no, because I didn't know, right? But I'll tell you what, guys, like you have to be bad at something before you can be good, which is really a struggle for a lot of us because we have been excellent our entire lives at most things we did, school and sports and whatever else you guys partook in growing up, right? Most of us, because we're here on this webinar, it tells me you're an action taker. And if you're an action taker, you've generally been above average your entire life, okay? Is anyone here just committed to being average? Let me know, or just drop, right? But most of you here, if not all of you, I would assume, are above average people with above average standards, okay? And that just means, hey, in business, you got to be okay being bad before you can become good. It's your only path to getting good, right? So the first thing I would tell you is just be okay being bad at something, right? You weren't good on the phones yourself the first time you were on. I wasn't, guys. I used to almost vomit before I would talk to sellers on the phones, right? Seller said he wanted 50 grand. I'm about to offer him 17. You think that doesn't suck for me too? Right? I promise. I feel the same emotions all of you do and did and continue to do when we're making offers to our sellers. Okay. So, and it's not just me, right? Here's a great example. This is my buddy, Andy Rouse. I don't think he's on here today. I love Andy. This is beautiful family right here. But he brought on an acquisition manager. His name's Matt. Matt rocks. I love Matt. I got to work with them for a while, but Andy was stuck doing like 2 to 3 deals a month. He actually went full-time in land and was growing the business and then brought on Matt, which is crazy in the sequencing because he had this super good, multi 6-figure job he was working. And so it was a big leap for him, right? But he said, I got to do better. And he brought on Matt and they scaled up to 5 to 6 deals a month. I got to train with them and helped Matt train up, but it was awesome. But Andy was another example of somebody who, look, hey, he did not have all the answers. He didn't know how to train a closer. He didn't know how to teach sales. He was a pretty good natural salesman. He was charismatic and a people person and okay on the phones, but it wasn't like his creative genius, right? That's okay. He still brought a guy on and they did more deals because of it. All right. So first thing I'll say here is if you're trying to bring on an A player, they're going to need a couple of things. Okay. They're going to need a couple of things. Number one, clear expectations. They need to know what's expected of them. They need to know what you think they're going to achieve. So like, if I'm looking at outcomes, right, which is tough, but I might say, hey, I need 2 contracts a week out of you, right? Well, let's say they come back with 1. Like, we should have good contingency plans. Hey, if you didn't have 2 contracts, I need to see that you made at least 20 offers, right? And if you didn't make 20 offers, I need to see that you reached out to at least this many leads, right? So you need to have a contingency plan and clear expectations for your A players. Otherwise, they won't know if they're doing well. And they want to do well. A players want to be good, but we don't know how to measure good, right? Which we'll talk about some KPIs and some baselines here in a second. Number 2 is support when they're stumped. Your team needs to know they can come to you when they don't have the answers. And guys, even if you don't have all the answers, figure it out together. That's what we do. We're all adults just figuring it out. I don't know everything. What's that old quote? Nobody knows what they're doing, and some people do it anyways. I can't remember where it come from, but I love the expression because, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I do it anyways, right? And you figure it out over time, and then there's new things where you don't know anything about what you're doing, and it's great. Number 3 is ongoing training, okay? And I'm going to talk about what all this stuff looks like. We're still keeping it high level right now. I promise we're about to get into some more meat here in a second, guys. But ongoing training, and yes, ongoing. You don't train your team just once, okay? So first, I want to talk about what ramp up looks like with a closer. When I bring somebody new on, okay, I'm not talking about subject matter. We're in kind of a weird subject matter in land flipping, land wholesaling, land subdividing, land entitlements, right? It's a weird niche. Train them up on subject matter, and then we have to train them up on the competency of sales skills within our domain. And what that looks like is, number 1, get all your good calls, all your calls where you closed people, right? Dump them in a Google Drive and have them listen to all of them. Okay, they need to listen to what good calls sound like so they know what these conversations sound like. Otherwise, they're just going in blind, right? Number 2, role play every day for 2 weeks, right? Katie, I know you did this with your lead managers when you just brought them on and you said it was insane what I did for them.
I did. Yes. Every day for 2 weeks straight, we role played for over an hour.
And it worked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it really just helped them like get through that barrier to entry. And now, because we brought in some cool colors, we'll be doing something similar with them. But now we just have it on the calendar for 2 times a week,
Boom.
recurring.
Because that's ongoing training. I love it. Appreciate it, Katie. Right? So good, though. So good. You need a strong script to fall back on. Okay. And we'll talk about scripting a little bit later. Some people hear script and they go, bleh, right? And other people, they're really excited. They say, give me the script. It just depends. But script is a process, right? I need to know when I don't know where to go in the conversation, I've got somewhere to go, right? And number 3 is meeting daily to answer questions, right? Like a 15-minute stand-up. You just need to be able to remove roadblocks for your team, okay? So then we'll talk about maintenance. In maintenance, I'm looking for 3 main things, all right? Call reviews, or excuse me, KPIs, call reviews, and standards. I'm going to blitz past this slide because we're going to get into some of this stuff in a second. Kieran said, we've been doing training 2 hours per week. Well, I've been training twice per week and it's game changing, setting higher and higher standards for the team. I love it. It's another example. This stuff works, okay? So here's an example of KPIs. I have here just an example of our KPI sheet. And some baseline metrics. This is like before and after some improvements and how it impacts stuff. We don't need to talk about the examples right now. I just want to define these for you. We only have so much time on this webinar today, and I want to make sure I can answer questions. So I can only get so deep on these, right? And I'll do some subtopics and try to get deeper per people's requests when they reach out. But if you're not tracking metrics at some level right now, please, please, please do so. I have this literal sheet for free in my school community, which a lot of you are already in, Land Closers Academy. It is 100% free. Steal it. I stole it from Chandler Sane. He knows it. I've told him that. I've made it my own. But we're going to look at this. I've got the definitions of all of these right here. Okay. So first, we've got actual leads. Okay. How many leads are you bringing into the pipeline? If you've only got 12 leads this month, no wonder you're not making any money. All right. So we got new leads. Next, we've got net leads, which are the leads you actually talk to. And there's two reasons. You either can't get a hold of them or you disqualified them at some level, right? So a lead comes in, they might not ever pick up the phone, or you look at the property and say, that's not a property I would buy. That's poo-poo, right? Great. So now we've got net leads. Those are all the leads I can do business with, right? Next, I've got offers made, right? Which is how many verbal offers that I actually make to somebody where I say, hey, Peter, would you consider an offer of $25,000? Hey, my team came back and we'd like to present an offer of $25,000. Hey, Peter, I'm seeing investors in the area are paying between $20,000 and $25,000. What would you say if somebody made an offer like that, right? So it's like, it's actually making the pitch, actually making the offer, because so many investors chicken out before they do, and it stops them from doing any deals at all, right? These metrics tell a story, my friends. Next is verbal offers accepted. How many actually say yes? And I mean real yes, not an I'll think about it, not send me the contract. I mean, yeah, we do that. Okay. How many actually sign, right? We're looking for sales process all throughout this. And then last but not least is deals completed, right? How many of these make it to the finish line where I'm actually able to monetize them? Okay. And I've got percentages and baselines all throughout. This stuff will help you.
Good morning, Karina. How are you?
Oh, all good. I was able to mute her. But the point here being, your team needs metrics so they know if they're performing. And you need to be able to see the performance of the business. So you like, guys, here one of my favorite expressions that I ever heard in business was cash is a lagging indicator. Money is a consequence of good business. I'm gonna say that again. That might hurt some of you. Money is a consequence of good business. If you don't have money, you're not conducting good business. So I hated learning that when I had $9,000 in my business bank account. That sucked, right? We have since gotten better from that. Okay. And so my point being here, looking at this, we just need clarity on where we're going with our activities. What stories do our metrics tell? What are we actually working on? What are we focused on? Okay. Next is call reviews. All right. And so I'm going to start by talking through what types of calls are best to bring, because I do call reviews for a lot of people. And I'm always like, don't bring me your worst leads. I mean, we can talk about how you could have done the call better, but that's not a closable deal, right? Bring me a deal where the negotiation was close. Bring me a deal where you had an objection that wasn't price, unless, again, the negotiations were close, right? Bring me a deal where you feel like you could have got it to the finish line, but you couldn't figure out what was going on in the seller's head. Some objections there, right? Those are closable deals we should be making money on every single day. And if we're not reviewing them, we can't train for them. And if we don't train for them, we can't overcome them when it's game time, right? Call reviews are training. The sales calls are the game, right? Ben and I have been talking about that a lot recently. He says when he gets on the phones, it's game day, right? Like we are fighting for a championship. I'm trying to win a championship, y'all. Is anybody else here trying to win a championship this year? Anybody else want to win, right? Like, I don't know about you guys. I tell my team all the time, we are a team of winners. I like to win. Okay. And so to win, this is what you got to do. Type of call to bring is a call you could have closed. Structure of a call review, right? We start by listening to it. Now, guys, when I do call reviews, it's not for me to prove I'm better or smarter or faster or whatever in Kanye's song Stronger. It's not for me to do any of that, right? I want to help this person close deals that they should be able to close. I want to help people close more deals. That's what it comes back to, okay? And so the structure of that call looks like, hey, bring me the call. We're going to listen to it together on a Zoom, right? As we're listening to it, it depends on the cadence of the call. If it's a group call, it's one thing. If it's a one-on-one, it's another. Generally speaking, if you guys are training your team one-on-one or in small groups, I might ask a question like, what do you think you did well? Where do you think you could have improved? I like to get self-reflection from people before just giving them the answer, right? Even today, we were doing call reviews. Ben was on the phone with Distressed Air on some distressed acquisition stuff we've been working on. And it's funny. I was like, okay, so what was the objection? I ask him. I don't tell him what the objection is. I ask him, and he names. I think he named timing as the objection. And I said, okay, tell me like when the objection hit. And he said it was after I dropped price. I said, interesting. So knowing that, do you think? What do you actually think the objection is knowing that? And he says it's probably price. I agree. The tone changed right after price, right? Notice I didn't just tell him point blank. And Ben is my business partner. He teaches me things all the time. I am so grateful that he lets me teach him things, right? And it is awesome. We have symbiotic skills. And it's the same with your team. Your team will teach you stuff. They're on the front lines, right? Let them teach you stuff. But it's so important you listen to what your team actually sounds like on the phone too, because you might think, hey, I gave them a script. They're not following it, right? And this is where I heard this expression once from Ren Bartlett, who's he's an 8-figure house wholesaler. He's been doing 8 figures in assignment fees and house wholesaling for like, I don't even know how many years. This guy's a savage. But he has this expression that says people are to be coached, process is to be managed. Okay. So when I'm listening to a call, I need to coach you up to process, right? We're managing process, but we're coaching people. That's the difference here. And so in this call review, I'm listening to it. Hey, what did you do well? Where could you have improved? Hey, what was the objection? Okay. When did it change? Got it. So what do you think it is? So what should we do different next time? Right. And I'm just forcing them to think. Because when the idea is their own, they're going to get better. That's leadership, guys. It's what it looks like to lead people. And so, yeah, I've got frequency on here at least once a week. All right. Kieran said he's doing twice a week. Katie's doing twice a week. If you want to be an A player, probably do at least twice a week. That's what I'm sensing here. So that's just call reviews. All right. Next, I want to talk about standards and accountability. Okay. This is so important. I was doing a webinar with Chandler Sane last month. And I remember one of the guys on the call he might be here today. He's a good friend of mine, but he brought up standards. He said, I had a lead that came into the pipeline and, he had 2 acquisition managers, and the one that was responsible for actually, calling this lead dropped the ball. He was late to it. Right. Should I have just reassigned his lead? Should I have said something to him? Like, what do we need to do here? Right. And I love this guy to death. He knows who he is if he's on here. And it was like, that was a failure on leadership. It is so important that we raise the standards for our team and call them out when they don't meet those standards. And like, guys, if you've worked with me, especially if you've worked with me one-on-one, I call you out. Okay. Ben and I call each other out all the time when we are not hitting standards or when we need to raise standards. And it's not easy. It's not comfortable. Okay. But the point being, if you set an expectation, right? Let's talk about that. If you set an expectation, say, hey, a lead came in, I need the lead to be called back within 5 minutes. And then I see the leads not called back for 20 minutes and I just let it slide. Is that meeting the standard? No. You need to get on your team. And again, like, I'm not just going to be a jerk, right? I'm always going to start with compassion. And I might say, hey, Ben, I just noticed it took you 20 minutes to get on this lead and I'm a little worried about you, man. Is everything going on okay, outside of work, right? Maybe there's a distraction going on. Express concern. Like, you don't want to rush to the fact that they just suck at their job. Just be like, hey, man, I set the expectation here. We're not doing this. Like, what's going on, right? So anyways, this is UCLA's coach, John Wooden here, who's like a beast when it comes to leadership and standards. One of my favorite philosophies about how he coached the team was that he always, like, he would get mad at his team when they won if he knew they weren't playing their best, right? So it was like every minute in the game, they needed to be playing 100% and there were no excuses, right? I want to be raising the bar for my team so it's the same way constantly. And if we set expectations on KPIs, we've got to be leading them for that. Reviewing those KPIs regularly and saying, hey, what was the delta? Do you need support? Do you need leads? What's the gap? Do I have too much on your plate right now? Do you have admin work? Are these leads low quality? Like, what needs to change? But if there's not an ongoing discussion, I promise you're not going to be getting the deal flow that you want. Okay. You'll notice on the right here, I've got photos of Toyota and BMW. I love this example, guys. I heard this story somewhere and I can't remember. I'm sure it came from Toyota propaganda. I don't know if that's true. Propaganda is a strong word, but there's this really cool story of these engineers that basically they look at Toyota, they look at BMW, and both cars are very well made. One's German, one's Japanese. Okay. Toyota's Japanese, BMW's German. And BMW says, our cars are very well made. And if you follow the maintenance plan, this car is going to last you a very long time. Very, very long time. Okay. And guys, I promise this has a connection to sales. Okay. Toyota, on the other hand, they say, yeah, I mean, if you meet all the maintenance for our cars, they'll last longer. But we know humans are lazy. Okay. So we have to build our cars in a way where, regardless of whether they do maintenance or not, the machine will still work. Okay. And so that's what standards and accountability do for your company. When you set good standards, you're Toyota, right? When you don't, you're BMW. Yeah, when everything's perfect, it'll work. Guys, I don't know how long you've been running businesses, but it is never perfect. And I'm sorry for you perfectionists in the room, but it is never perfect. It is always war. All right. So important. And yes, it's uncomfortable to have these conversations for your team, but can I just be real with you guys for a second? If you don't have these conversations about accountability and performance, it hurts you because you make less money, and it hurts them because you're going to end up firing them because they're not performing. So you fail them as a leader, you get hurt twice because you lose staff and you don't make any money. Okay. So, hey, if that's the decision you want to make, so be it. But here's how I reframe this in my brain all the time. Anytime I'm uncomfortable triple dialing a seller, anytime I'm uncomfortable having a conversation with my staff, you know what I remind myself? I say, what am I more uncomfortable about? My wife and I becoming homeless and not having food, or triple dialing this seller? Okay, is that aggressive? Yes. Do I care? No, because guess what I'm doing in that moment? I am triple dialing that seller. All right. That might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but you know what's even more uncomfortable is not reaching your goals, not achieving your dreams, telling your spouse a story about where you think you're going to build your business and then failing constantly. Okay. So it is so important that when we set standards, when we set goals, right, and our spouses and our kids and our parents and our people have faith in us, right? They bet on us. They bet on us for a better life, that we deliver. I don't care if it's uncomfortable to have these conversations. I don't care if it's uncomfortable to triple dial. They get results. They help the business. It's a matter of which outcome you want more. And I know I'm getting fired up right now. And I know a couple of you might leave right now because it's the top of the hour and this is an uncomfortable conversation. But the reality is you have to choose your hard and you're uncomfortable. If you're okay living a mediocre life so that you don't have to feel awkward triple dialing a seller, cool. Just don't tell me you want to make 100 grand a month. Just tell me you're cool making 6 grand a month. I have nothing against the business that does that. Okay. But just be real with yourself. Commit to what you say you're going to do. All right. So I'm sure you can tell I'm getting worked up here, but this stuff is so important. It actually changes lives, guys. I just want you, if you want to change your life, like guys, I'm going to go on a tangent here that is not part of this at all. I love America so much for this. So much, okay? And I'm not going to make this about politics, but my point is where my family comes from, my mom comes from a village so remote. Her nickname was Bucky Gardnani growing up, which translates to girl from the stone house. She had next to no education when she came here from the States, probably the equivalent of 5th or 6th grade over here. She could not read or speak English. She worked fast food for a very long time. We lived in Section 8 so that I could have a future. And I'm here. I hit the lottery. I'm in America as a 20-something-year-old with the internet and the ability to speak, and I'm not using it to make a difference in my life and my family's for the legacy forever. Guys, we are sitting on a gold mine. And we're just not doing anything with it because you're uncomfortable. All right. So, this is the stuff that really fires me up, guys. This comes from love. I just want you to know we live in a place, in a time where this is possible. The information's out there. I've made so much of my material free. My scripts are free. My process is free. I post all this stuff on YouTube so that information will not stop you from growing your business. All right. You might not be growing, but it's not because the info is not out there. It is all free nowadays. You're just not doing the work, or you don't have the right mentors in your life right now. All right. I love you guys. I want you to be better. I want this to be a good year for you. Let me know in the comments. Do you want 2025 to be the best year of your life? Let me know right now, because I do. I want 2025 to be the best year of my life. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Let's go. Yes. Come on. Yes. Gosh, this jacks me up, guys. I got to keep it moving because I know I got a schedule here, and I know you guys have families and dinners and things you got to do. All right. So let's talk about leadership for a second. You might not think you're qualified to lead teams because you're not a master salesman yourself. You will learn through repetitions and necessity. You didn't know how to ride a bike till you rode a bike. For those of you that are parents, you did not know how to parent a child until you parented a child, right? Doing your first deal. You did not know what you were doing, but you did it, right? It is okay to not know how to do something, all right? This stuff is just so, so important. So this is funny. I forgot I put Buzz Lightyear in here. Accountability and leadership are mission critical if you want to get to 100K a month, all right? Secret number 3 that I'm going to be talking about today, and I know I'm over on time, guys. Just bear with me, all right? Creating deals out of sellers who want market value. I asked you guys earlier, how many of you are getting leads that want market value or 3 times or whatever, and it was pretty much everybody, okay? This stuff is so important, all right? Back in like 2023, probably later in the year, competition really started to pick up in the vacant land niche, okay? Now, I'm saying that, and I also know I got a couple people on here that are like 6-figure monthly monsters like Katie and Josh Pierce and some other savages on here that joined in 2023 and 4, and they have just been crushing it in this business. But those operators are just phenomenal. And a lot came in that time. So I don't want to set an expectation for you guys that it is hard, because you're doing great. It's keep doing what you're doing. But anybody that's been around as long as I have, and a lot of you longer, even before 2020, competition's gotten fierce, like fierce. Okay. So many of our sellers are hitting us with lines now. Like, I get calls and letters all the time. I get text messages all the time. I have conversations with you guys all the time, right? So it's important we say better words in a better order to stand out from the crowd. It's not fun. It's not fun right away, okay? It can be, but it's not perfect, all right? Now, that's where I put together what I'm now calling the 7-figure land flipper script. All right. The script is free. It is in school. It is there. I worked on that. I combined the best of Hormozy and Jeremy Lee Minor and Cole Gordon and Jenny Hudspeth and Chandler Sane and Ren Bartlett and Eric Brewer and everybody else I studied in sales to finally fit something that made sense for our little niche in real estate, because nobody else was serving it and people begged me to. And so I said, fine, I'll do it. And now we're here. And so there are 2 big changes when it comes to our script. And I actually, guys, I put together a couple process maps that I actually really didn't want to share here, but I'm fired up right now and I have the link in here. And so I'm just going to show you overall. I've got 2 process charts in here that I am like just working on. All right. Just working on for the first time. And it's the flow of the conversation overall. I've got my script up that so many of you have seen, are using. I was just talking to Dan Larson, who's in this later. I'll talk about him later. He is phenomenal at what he's doing right now. But it's not that complex, okay? The words we say here are so important, though, when you start, when you introduce yourself and confirm that a seller's got time if you're not on a call where an appointment's set up, right? Hey, did I catch you at a bad time, right? There's so many of these little nuances that I talk about in my 40-minute video where I break down this entire script for you for free. So go check it out. But I've got this flow chart. This is freebie number 1 that I will be sending out to you guys. Kaylee will help facilitate it. Because you registered for this webinar, you will be getting this chart, right? And it is just breaking down the flow of the conversation, because I realize not everybody sees calls in buckets the same way I do. Okay, introduction's a bucket. Framing is a bucket. Past, present, future, those are buckets. Eliminating deal killers, those are buckets. I talk about them so nonchalantly. I just assume everybody understands there are natural sections to a sales conversation that need to happen in order before we go through our pitch, before we pitch an offer range, before we start negotiating, right? And so I broke this down in ways that highlight the buckets, are the bolded pieces here, right? But it's not as simple for everybody to see across a 7-page script, which is why I want to go ahead and break it down in this flow chart. And I'm going to get to the negotiation process here in a second, but Yeah, actually, no. Let's rip through this right now, guys, because I have not talked about this. I put this together. I shared this with the inner circle yesterday, and they asked me if I could send this out. So I'm just going to show you what we've been doing. Okay. The first thing you need to do when you get into negotiations, this is so important, guys, because so many of you stop negotiating after like one back and forth. Okay. Berta said this process chart is exactly how my mind works. I've been creating for myself. Love to see this, Ajay. Hey, man, I'm glad. I'm trying to give you guys some real gas. I've been working on this presentation for a long time now. And I just know there's so many more levels to depth I want to get when I talk about these conversations and sales. And I want everyone to understand it because I know your brain's not the same as mine. Okay. When you're negotiating, the first thing you need to do before you ever get into negotiations is make sure all the other objections are out of the way besides price. Okay. 4 types of objections: certainty. We can do our best to establish authority and trust. Timing. Right? Is there any time-bound reason they wouldn't work with us? Partner, spouse, is there somebody else that's going to blow up the deal? Attorneys, brothers, sisters, cousins, husband, wife, right? Then we finally start our negotiations. I need to obtain my asking price from the seller before I ever make an offer. This is essential. This needs to happen first. I understand 1 in 5, 1 in 10 sellers won't give it to us. But if you just ask more times, you will get your asking price out of your sellers. Okay. You don't believe me? Go ask Nick Stately. This guy is a legend. He asked on this one call, like, I don't even know, it was like 7 times and he finally got it. But this guy's a savage. I love him. Ben, Nick, if you guys are on here, what up? Appreciate you guys. Love you being in the community. But I need to get my asking price first because I can negotiate off of it. Okay. So after I get their asking price, I love to figure out like what problem does that money solve in their life. Okay. I was coaching some people earlier today and I literally said to them, I said, hey, I want you to think of it like this way. All right. You have a backpack filled with $50,000 and you're knocking on the seller's door and they're letting you into their home and you're asking them about their life. And when it comes time for negotiations and you finally make your offer, you take off your backpack and empty it on their coffee table, $50,000 in $100 bills. Do you think that negotiation would be a little bit different? Yes. Why? Because the seller has conviction about that money being there. And the reason they don't have conviction about that money when you're on a normal call is 2 reasons. Number 1, they're thinking about it logically associated to the property. So we have to disassociate this money from the property for our sales to be more effective. All right. Number 2 is because they don't really believe in the money. It's all just, it's a, I almost want to quote The Wolf of Wall Street with Matthew McConaughey, where he says it's a fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy. It's, you guys know that scene. Okay. I love that movie. I love the first half. I actually turn it off before it goes downhill. But anyways, point being, when I'm looking at this, I need to know what problem does this money solve in their life. Do not tell me 50 grand doesn't solve any problems in the seller's life. But Ajay, they said they didn't need to sell. I'm sure they don't need to sell, right? But dude, half of America cannot afford an unexpected expense of $500. You cannot convince me this 50 grand you're offering them does not change something in their life. It is your job to make them realize that, right? Whether it's closure, whether it's just being done with this, whether it's, they want to buy an RV, go on vacations, retire sooner, whatever it is, you need to get them to associate to that thing. Okay. That's what the discovery looks like. I could do a whole training on that specifically, and I have, and I will. I can't do that here because I only have so much time. But after we know what it solves in their life, right? I've already got their asking price. So the first thing I need to do, guys, there's like these little like breadcrumb trails you can lead a seller with in a conversation so that it's all more effective. Okay. So if I come in and I solve the problem and then I'm like, hey dude, can I give you 50 grand? That's different. Okay. They wanted 70, right? Versus if I ask, hey, Cheryl, can I ask, would you even be open to an offer, below $70,000? Right. And now she's going to say, well, yeah, what's your offer? Right. But what she just did there, she admitted she would take a price lower. Okay. So I need to pre-frame my offers with getting them to admit out of their own mouths they would be open to an offer below asking. Right. And then, I scrolled way too aggressively and I lost my chart. Guys, this is crazy. Where'd it go? Wow. There it is. Okay. I'm going to use my MacBook here instead of my mouse. First thing I like to do is shift blame. Shift blame. My first offer is shifting blame. Okay. If I shift blame in my first offer, they can't hang up on me or they won't hang up on me, right? When I say shift blame, I say, hey, Peter, investors in the area are paying between 20 and 40,000 for properties like these. What would you say to an investor if they made an offer like that, right? the biggest thing I'm looking for is feedback. If people say yes to your first offer right away, number one, you left meat on the bone. Number two, your offer wasn't insulting. Okay. So you got, like, guys, so many of your closers right now that have them, they're looking at maximum allowable offer, and that's what they're just locking stuff up in, right? They just rush to that number because they just want deal. They feel good. They get that dopamine hit on deal instead of looking on margin. This really helps pre-frame in conversations. Negotiation process is so important. You're gonna get more money for every single one of your deals that you're doing. Okay. And then we're going to talk through, hey, does the seller agree? If yes, isolate objections, get contract signed. If no, now we're going to do what we call looping. How do we loop the seller off their asking price? Looks like investors doing 20 to 40. And be like, no, I can't do that. Totally makes sense, man. I got you. Let me ask, what's the lowest you think you would take for something like this, right? Blake said, doing verbal range on the phone changed my whole business. Learned it from you. Thanks so much, man. That's literally why I'm doing it here. I think I learned that one from Eric Brewer. So I didn't invent this stuff, right? I literally pioneered my script out of the best of like 7 different closers and sales trainers and teachers out of the ether that I pieced together for what I consider the best script for land investing that I've ever seen. I'm biased, okay? But I love this thing and I get great feedback about it all the time. Now, when I'm looping my seller off my ask, that's okay. Listen, man, you said you'd be open to an offer below 70. Let me ask, like, what's the lowest you think you would take, right? Well, we'd probably go 65. Got it, man. Okay, so 65 is like the absolute lowest you would take. Yeah, I think so. You think so? Which again signals to me he would take lower. Like, so if I came back with an offer below 65,000, is it even worth it for me to make the offer? We'll make your offer. Sweet. He just gave me permission again to make an offer below what he's asking. This is how we negotiate people down and why it's so important to get their asking price first. The sequencing and negotiation matters here. Notice I still haven't made a flat offer yet, right? Now I offer a higher number off that range for the first time. Hey man, it is looking like we're going to be kind of in like a $40,000 to $45,000 range. And then we're silent, right? Do they agree? Yes, no, bring up motivation. Hey man, you mentioned you were looking to get some backyard patio furniture, buy an RV, retire your wife. What's it worth for you to have that done in the next 30 days? Now, I'm not saying all of you are retiring wives, but it's, hey, can we disassociate from the price of the property over here? If that works, awesome. If that doesn't work, this is when we finally start playing hardball, asking questions like, hey, what are you going to do if the property never sells? What are you going to do if you never get that price? Oh, okay. Are you prepared? Hey, dude, I'm just saying, you told me you get calls and letters all the time and nobody's offering you what you're asking. Why do you think that is? Could it be that the property is just not worth that, right? So like, these are the aggressive questions we do after we've done everything else, right? And again, I'm not saying that stuff's always going to get you a deal. All of my philosophy is, hey, what can I do to boost the odds of somebody doing business with me? That's my philosophy, okay? And so I know that every single thing that I mentioned here will boost the odds of you doing business with people, all right? I'm going to talk about how this helped my buddy here, Dan Larson. He's part of the Inner Circle, and I just gave him an award. He was here at the Sales Blitz 2 weeks ago, and we gave him an award for the 2 Contract Club. And I asked Dan, I said, hey, man, so you're getting 2 contracts a week now. And when I say 2 Contract Club, that's 2 contracts every week, right? I've associated that about 2 contracts a week ends up being about 6-figure months, give or take. People on average are getting about $15,000 to $30,000 deals. Knowing that like 3 of those might fall out of 8, 5 deals is typically going to get us over that tipping point, right? And you're going to get some sleeper deals that end up being 60, 80, 100Ks. You're going to get some smaller ones that are like 7. It's just how it goes. But Dan won this. I asked you, dude, what was the biggest thing that changes for you? He said, honestly, the 2 biggest things were framing, right? At the very beginning of the call, right? Hey, just so you know, typically this call takes about 10 minutes. I just need to clarify a couple of quick questions and then we'll get into an offer. If you have about 10 minutes to chat, right? Doing that takes away the objection of, well, what's your offer in the first minute of the call, right? He said that, plus shifting blame in his first offer, okay? 2 simple tweaks that got him to 2 contracts a week. That's pretty fun. A lot of you earlier said you wanted 2 contracts a week. Dan did this just by sticking to the script. That's what he said, all right? Now, myths on scripting process, right? I hear a lot of people say, oh, actually, I'm not a salesperson. Trash, garbage, okay? So I just want to tell you, I don't buy that. I think everyone can be good at sales. You don't believe me? Talk to my guy, Kieran. This guy's a savage. Like, Kieran, are you still on here, dude?
Yes,
dude,
I am. Just
are you
make more offers. Just
yeah,
make
dude,
more
are you,
offers.
let me ask you, man, right now, are you a natural salesperson?
No, I'm not.
When you were growing up, were people like, that guy's going to be a salesman?
No, but I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm introverted. Sometimes I think I'm introverted. Other times I think I'm extroverted. I will just put my hands up in class and say, I've got a question in front of like 400 people in a lecture. Don't care. And that helps.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm sure as you guys are hearing Kieran, like, and man, this is like, I got to tell you, you're a savage, dude. Like, I am so proud of watching your growth these past couple of years, man. I've known Kieran for a couple of years, and this guy, he he started out young and land. He's one of the only guys I know that's younger than me in the space and absolutely crushing it. He's been getting, what are you at? 16 contracts for the year so far already, right? He's the only closer on his team. He's just a savage, taking appointments, doing the work that's not scalable, but he's a savage and he's willing to do it. Right? Doesn't work for everybody. Some people need to bring on a full-time closer. Kieran was able to step in and do the work, and he was not a natural salesperson. He said it himself, and he committed and learned and became probably one of the best business operators on this call right now out of all 60 people here. Right? I'm not saying that just to gas you up, man. I legitimately mean it. Like, kudos to you, my friend. I think people are starting to learn a lot from you, and I'm proud of you, brother. All right. So,
Well, it's a lot of help from you just making the bloody calls. 20 offers a week every single week.
totally, man. It makes
You
a huge
know?
difference. Makes a huge difference. I appreciate you coming on and saying that, man. So, guys, yeah, Kieran might be an introvert. Doesn't matter. Introvert, extrovert. I don't care. Omnivert, black, white, panther, gorilla. I don't care. You can be a salesperson as long as you can pick up the phone and speak English. We're good to go. Okay. Um, quick thing about scripting. I'm chuckling at my Bob the Builder in here. Okay. A lot of people say, dude, I don't want to read from a script. I don't want to sound scripted. Cool. Me neither. I don't like sounding scripted. So don't practice the script. Learn the buckets like I talk about, and just know it's a tool in your tool belt. It's meant to serve you, right? And so the script is for you, not against you. It is there to help you. It is a tool, man. Yeah, I would tell you, this is a tool to serve you. Don't let it put you in a box, all right? So good scripting, negotiations, guys, that's what sets you apart on your calls today. It doesn't matter if people are asking prices. I've got so many little quips that I love. Like, I was on a call review today. I heard, guys, how many of you ever get, you ask, hey, so why are you interested in selling your property? And a seller says something like, well, you guys called me, you tell me. I never said I was interested in selling. I never said I wanted to sell, right? Yeah, I see Kieran smiling. I see people are laughing because we get it, right? I'm going to give you guys a tip right now. Write this down. If you're not writing this down, write this down, okay? What I like to do is I call it the reverse objection, where I take what I know the seller's objection is going to be, and I say it first. I Uno reverse card it on them, okay? And what that looks like is if I know they're going to say that, I'm going to say, hey, Kieran, listen, man, I know that we're the ones that called you and reached out to you about selling your property, but can I ask, man, were you interested in selling before we called? You see how different that question is? You see, you don't need to role play with me, man. I saw you come off mute. You're good. But the point there is that question, they can't say, well, you called me right after I say that, right? I learned that sales tactic from Eminem. Okay. You might not believe it or not. It was the third rap battle in 8 Mile, where he says all the, I am white, I am a bleeping bum, right? That whole thing. I learned that from him. And that's, I didn't mention him. I have to give him credit. Slim Shady gave me some good tactics there. So, good scripting, process, negotiation. All right. So guys, can you understand how this stuff would work for you in 2025? Bringing on a really good closer, training them up to KPI, establishing KPIs, right? I understand this feels like a mountain of work if you're not there. All right. This is the part in the presentation where I just tell you guys what I do. Okay. So I want to deliver value. If you were here and you registered, you're going to be getting the freebies that I mentioned, those flowcharts. Okay. Today we've talked about hiring and feeding a killer closer, what those numbers really need to look like to set good expectations, how to trade them and lead them like killers and hold them to high standards, and have a culture and a company and a team that we're proud of having, and creating deals even out of sellers who say they want market value, because a lot of them can be negotiated down. All right. So let me ask you transparently, would it be easier and faster if I did it with you? If I, Ajay, did it with you as you wanted to implement these things in your business in 2025? I have done that for a lot of people, a lot on this call. Right? And I love you guys that I've been able to work with. All right. Right now, I'm looking for 5 land investors that are committed to scaling up to 6-figure months to join us in the inner circle. Okay. What that looks like, we've got Land Closers Academy. And right now, we're only selling annual packages. So I used to do month to month, but I want people that are committed to growing for a year. Okay. Committed to growing for a year. People that treat things month to month, that's like working out at Planet Fitness. No disrespect to the guys at Planet Fitness, but you can cancel anytime. All right. I work out at Lifetime because I'm committed to getting better, right? And that's why I want you guys to be committed to doing that. But because you're all here and you stayed for an entire hour, I've got freebies and bonuses for people that sign up today, okay? This is going to be some fun stuff. So I'll go over what you get first, and then I'm going to talk about some really cool things and a huge announcement for the Scaling Summit in 2025 for those that don't know, all right? Call reviews reviewed by me, okay? So you don't just need to be your own sales trainer. You have me to learn from. You have me to train your teams, all right? So you don't lose deals for the same reason week over week, all right? I will hold your teams accountable if they're not sticking to process. I will call them out. I did it yesterday on one of our calls. It was not super fun, but I did it because I want people to be better, all right? And I'll be personally reviewing your metrics every single week and asking you what's going on in them, all right? Josh said, absolute no-brainer. Don't sleep on this. Ajay is the real deal. This is such a steal. I appreciate you, brother. Josh has been in my, he's been with us since the start. Love that guy. He runs a super cool cookie closing company. We can talk about a little bit later. Yeah, if you get one deal in all of 2025, pays for itself 4x over. Totally. So next, what you get continued, what it looks like, dedicated Slack channel for business owners, weekly call, 4 p.m. Central on Mondays. All the sessions are recorded and posted in school. You get access to guest speakers, like when I had Chandler Sain on. All the guys in the inner circle, all the guys and gals in the inner circle got to hop on the call with Chandler. I got 3 seats available per team. So if you sign up for a full year, all the business owners and acquisition managers, up to 3 people, are welcome to jump on those calls and be in all the stuff, okay? If it's more than that, we can talk about it on a one-off, but I only want AMs and business owners on this. This is not for lead managers and EAs and dispo and all that stuff. I focus on acquisitions. I focus on scaling acquisitions, okay? Now, guys, I know I said it was $6,000, but because you are still here, because you are one of the 55 people still here, I'm actually doing a one-time discount today. So if you sign up for a full year, it is only $5,000, okay? It's literally just $5,000 for a full year of call reviews, train for your team, me reviewing your metrics, you getting better, all right? Everything we talked about today and what it takes to get to 6-figure months, right? A fraction of what it costs to actually get deals done. And Kaylee, if you're still on, oh shoot. I doubt you are. Here, let me grab this payment link. I'm going to drop this link in here and walk you through a couple of bonuses you're going to get if you guys do sign up today. It is literally just $5,000, and you guys are going to have me help you train your team. So your AMs come to the calls. Your AMs actually submit calls for review, right? Here's what this is going to look like. Bonus number 1 for today only. It's only for people that sign up today, okay? You're going to get a free ticket to the Land Scaling Summit 2025. If you didn't know, we threw the best land event in the world last year, in my opinion. I'm biased. I went to a lot of the other events. They rocked. I loved them. You know, like my boy Sumner Healy, love him. He runs a great event, good friend of mine. But I got to say, I'm biased. I loved my event the most, right? We're doing another one. We're doing it bigger. Here in Dallas, September 19th and 20th, I am officially announcing the Land Scaling Summit. And for 5 people that sign up today, you're going to get a free ticket to the event. I sell tickets for $1,097, okay? And I'm giving one away for free if people commit to a year of being in our community, all right? Not only that, but everybody that signs up, you're going to get a one-on-one with me, all right? Obviously, the Monday call is a group, but everybody has their own custom needs and questions. So if you sign up today, I will meet with you one-on-one. We will get a full 45 minutes to an hour where we just dissect the issues in your business, right? And sometimes the issues are just staring you right in the face and you just need somebody on the outside to tell you. Like Katie and Kevin both mentioned, they needed to fire somebody, and that was something we figured out within our first 2 calls together, okay? That stuff's not easy, but you need somebody on the outside to tell you this stuff, and then they scaled rapidly, all right? So again, you're getting a free ticket to the summit. You're getting bonus number 2, which is an hour with me. And I've only got 5 spots I want to do right now, okay? The community has grown really fast, and I love it, but I don't want to dilute the quality of people in there, which is also why I want this to be people who are committed to a full year, okay? So I'm capping entry after this cohort, right? You either sign up now. I don't know when I'm reopening stuff up. Don't say I might sign up next week because I don't know when I'm doing it. Once 5 people sign up, we're good, right? And per all of my coaches' opinions, I'm raising prices, okay? Everyone has told me I should double, if not triple, what I'm costing right now. I haven't been able to pull the trigger on it yet because I love everybody too much and I want to make this stuff accessible, okay? So if you're looking to join in the future, I'm doubling prices most likely after this week, all right? Not for existing clients. If you're already in the community, you're locked into what you're doing for a while, okay? So no stress there if you're already a client. But if you're coming up, I'm just telling you right now, we're raising prices after this. So don't think you're getting this deal after, especially this cheap, all right? What I also say is, look, I know what a lot of you are thinking, right? I know a lot of you are thinking, well, hey, dude, I wish this was 3 months from now when my business is in the perfect position to do this. Yeah, we all think that. We all always think we're 3 months away from making a breakthrough. And the reality is, it's because you're doing the same things that you haven't made the breakthrough. You need to change it up. And to do that, you need to be around the right people doing the right activities, which is why I'm auditing your business so we can figure out how to take you to the next level. All right. Number two, my metrics aren't up and ready yet, Ajay. Cool. Your taxes probably aren't ready until tax season every year, right? When it comes time, when something comes due, that's when you get it done. All right. So if you want to get it done, be in a community where you're going to be held accountable to get it done, right? Number three, I would do it, man, but this deal's about to close, and yeah, we're real estate investors, guys. I've been guilty of this. I've said it. Oh man, I've got these 3 properties on the market when they close. Da 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 da. Cool, that's great. Wouldn't you rather have like double the properties on the market this time next year? Isn't that worth $5,000 today, right? So like I get it when you say you're waiting for that deal to close, but the reality is change starts today if you want it to. Okay. You might be saying, I already do sales training with my team. Dude, congrats. I'm glad you do. You should do sales training with your team. I shouldn't be your only sales trainer. I'm happy to help you get started. I'm happy to show you what this needs to look like. But man, are you telling me you got nothing left to learn? Are you telling me you know how to cover every single objection? Are you telling me you don't want to be in a community and listen to other people's calls to figure out what other people are doing? Like, come on, guys, right? Like, hey, I already know how to do deals, so I don't need to learn how to do more deals. Is basically what you're telling me, right? Number five, I'm already in another coaching program learning stuff. So is pretty much everybody in our stuff. All right. I think this pairs well with everything that everybody else teaches. A lot of other people teach strategies. I'm not teaching strategies, guys. I'm teaching process, right? This pairs well with any strategy, right? We pivoted and we started doing some distress deals. And within weeks, Ben and I created scripts and process because we were like, oh, sweet, man. Okay, what are our KPIs? Boom, 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 bang. Oh, what are we struggling with? Openers. Sweet, dude. Let me study some openers. Okay, bet. I created what I consider some of the best scripts in that space to open up to cold calls, right? So listen, if you're already in coaching programs, that's fine. That's fine, right? And if you're doing distressed deals, I review those calls too because we're doing them in-house, right? So just know, like, all of that is available. And I understand you thinking this stuff. I think the same stuff. I still think this is a steal and you should sign up today. All right. Now, if you don't want to believe me, here's a couple people that are on this call right now that have said some awesome things that we're just going to listen to for a couple of minutes. I hope I'm sharing audio. I'm going to reshare my screen to make sure I am sharing audio. Bang.
Hey, what's up, guys? Katie here from Patriot
Katie, if you're
Moms.
still here, that's
Just
you.
wanted to give a huge shout out to Ajay for working with me over the
That's
last
me.
6 weeks or so.
That's you.
Honestly, it was such an incredible experience being able to do a deep dive into our business, really taking a look at what our sales process is, what do our scripts look like, how are we isolating objections and overcoming them. Working with him was such a seamless process. We had, honestly, the best time ever being able to work together. He spent a lot of time really diving into all of my individual sales calls, my team members' calls, and really dissecting them almost line for line, giving immediate feedback. I think I'm a pretty quick student, but the amount of feedback and information and direction that I received in such a short period of time really helped to quickly scale our business, the amount of offers that we were making, the amount of agreements that we were getting under contract, and it was a huge game changer. For us, I'm pretty sure in those 6 weeks we over doubled the amount of contracts that we were getting
you did,
signed,
Katie.
which is honestly such a short period of time to see those kind of results. So if anybody's like on the fence, how is this going to be a game changer? Is this really going to do something and have an immediate impact in a short period of time? The answer is yes. So I have a sales background. I've been doing sales basically my entire career. But what I would say to you is, yeah, you may have a sales background. Maybe you don't. Maybe there's even, some more things to learn. But if you do have a sales background, can you sell and close land consistently? That's what I would ask.
Boom. Thank you, Katie.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh,
Katie here.
Here we go. Next slide. Here we go. This is my buddy Andy Rouse here. He's got a 1-minute quick one.
Why did we come to Ajay? Why did we decide to work with Ajay? We were getting solid lead flow on the acquisition side, but I wanted to increase our offer acceptance conversion rate. Ajay targeted some key areas around maintaining control of the conversation, rapport building, and asking better questions. We saw immediate improvement with better, more meaningful conversations and higher conversion rates overall. Ajay's an excellent teacher. He is well studied on the best methods and is always making sure that what he taught us was sticking, that we were mastering the methods, and he was also holding us accountable to make sure that we were actually doing what we were supposed to be doing. I definitely recommend working with Ajay for anybody who is looking to optimize their acquisition process.
Thank you, Andy. Wish you were here today, buddy. Oh, come on. How do we hit the next? There we Hey, it's Kevin
I'm
Murray.
relatively new to land investing. I just started this business.
This is the last
maybe
one,
6
guys. This is the last
months.
one.
And once the leads started coming in, I kind of fumbled my way through a couple of deals, more in spite of my acquisitions and closing process than because of it. And I was really starting to get to a point where I was like, man, I don't know if this is, gonna cut it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make this work. But I believe in investing in coaching and from people who are much more successful and kind of where I want to be. So I started working with Ajay Sharma, and it was a big change right away. So I had some people on my team join the training along with myself, and they immediately started having, better, longer conversations, building more rapport, and more importantly, we started to realize, a better process for our acquisitions, a script that we could use that helped endear us and build rapport with the sellers and seem real. And then really understanding what people should be in each seat, whether it's lead manager or the acquisition manager. And that's all fine and well, that's all good. But I think the most telling metric is we started working with Ajay probably about a month and a half ago. And once we started fine tuning things, we now have 8 contracts in the last 2 weeks, which is insane. We were averaging 0 to 1 contract a week before that, really kind of limping along. But we're
So you heard that, guys. He said 0 to 1 contract a week. The hamster wheel I was telling everybody about. They see he was at 8 contracts in the last 2 weeks. That's a pretty significant shift.
Like on fire now, and those 8 contracts, they're in the early stages, but they represent a few $100,000 in gross profits. So we're feeling really confident now. We feel like we've really got a process in place, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't working with Ajay on the acquisition. So if you're wondering if you should do it or not, stop thinking and just do it. Like, you can sit there and think your way to not taking steps and thinking you'll get there, but just do it. Like, it's super productive. It's proven. I mean, Ajay's been very successful. And, he obviously puts out a lot of great free content, but working with him, and getting in the weeds on stuff, has been a game changer for us.
Boom. Thank you, Kevin. Oh, we're running it back. All right. Now it's time for questions. Let's start with what questions you guys might have about the inner circle. I see we still got about 40 here live with us. I'm going to scroll through here. What's the additional operational cost? Jay, I'm not sure if I understand what you mean, man. It's a $5K fee one time up front. I don't charge you monthly or anything like that once you're signed up for the year. Like when you're in for the year, you're in for the year, if that makes sense. So I hope that answers your question. You still have costs to run a business, but I can't change that, Sweet. James, I saw your DM. I'm going to go ahead and DM you back, my friend. Sweet. What else? What questions do you guys have? Go ahead and just come off mute and ask.
Hey, Ajay.
What up, Clay?
What's up? Hey, guys, just shout out. Ajay's a friend, so just want to say that. But I've done John Martinez training. I used to have a wholesale house flipping business. This guy knows what he's talking about. Super, super impressed, man. This was a great presentation, and I think it's totally worth your weight in gold. Just one thing kind of for acquisition managers, right? I think this is a big pain point for a lot of people. I saw that you had 2 acquisition managers, right? So why do you have 2 acquisition managers? What are your lead flow for you to say, hey, I'm comfortable bringing on 2 acquisition managers, having them full-time on my staff? And in your opinion, for someone who's getting started or kind of in the middle of the funnel, right? They're trying to break through that 100K month. When does it make sense to have 2 acquisition managers?
Totally. Great question, man. It really, I think the first question I would want to answer is do I have the lead flow to support a second acquisition manager, or can I generate the lead flow to support an acquisition manager, or you know, at some level, like, am I comfortable spending the money to both pay for the acquisition manager and support lead flow? Especially looking at somebody like you, Clay, who's like a very experienced investor, man. It's one of those things where you know how to solve the problems that would be there, right? As long as like cash flow supported. Just because obviously the cash flow can be so crazy sometimes in this business in terms of like you sell, you know, 9 lots one month and then 0 the next or something crazy like that. But I would tell you, like, generally speaking, if you think you can get 5 to 8 appointments a day per acquisition manager, like you're in a place where you could basically double it and you'd probably double your business, you know. Jay is asking, no man, so the sign up fee does not include hiring a VA. Like I don't do any hiring or any of that for you. You still run your own business, but I get to train up your team basically. Cody said, how many appointments, net leads per day to justify a US closer? Yeah, I would say at least 4, like at a minimum per day, Cody. You want them to be able to make 20 offers a week is kind of my minimum threshold here. So if we can get there, then great, you know? Ben said, for me, the biggest hurdle that I've had is the ethics of all this. Sure, we could try to negotiate sellers to absolute minimum that you want to take for the land. But if I were to do that, it doesn't feel like a win for me. I want to make money and I want to give sellers liquidity, but I don't want to feel like I'm taking advantage of them. I want to partner with them and have it be a win-win. Yeah, Ben, I would, number one, iterate what Kirana's saying. Like, we're running a for-profit business, man. There's 2 things here, dude. And hey, first, I just want to say I appreciate you're putting yourself out there, because that's like an uncomfortable thing to throw in, you know, a Zoom with 40 other land investors. So kudos to you for being willing to share that. You know, the biggest thing here, Ben, is people aren't going to work with us if they don't want to. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I don't have a gun to anybody's head and I'm telling them to sell their property. So if I can ask better questions and close more deals, I see that as a win, you know, especially if I can help them relate to the money that they're going to be getting from this. Like, you know, I think you're thinking about this as if it's a one-sided transaction. Like, you're not just taking from him, because when you're early in this business, you view this as like, oh my God, I just, you know, I made 20 grand off of this guy, right? And it's like, well, sure, yeah, you know, you did. And he made 60 grand off of you, right? So it's not like, listen, like if you were getting this guy $10 and a pack of thumbtacks or something, I'd be like, yeah, dude, you suck. But learning how to ask better questions and help people identify, like, how would you use money? How would this solve a problem in your life? That's a good thing to do. You know, that's a net positive for the business. We're providing liquidity to an illiquid market. That's the arbitrage we capture in this business. It's a function of information and service, right? Let me ask you another question, man. If somebody were to remove junk out of a house, let's say a house is just hoarder house filled with junk, somebody dies, and somebody removes all that junk out of the house, should they make money?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, you know, I feel like you could argue they're taking advantage of the people that have to get the junk out of the house. Don't you think?
I may not be understanding your original question. The people who are taking the junk out of the house, I mean, they're asking for a service. So people are going to be contacting them.
They're asking for a service. Interesting. Are they? Okay. So they're having a conversation with you about an exchange of service and money, is what you're saying.
I see where you're going with this, but yes.
Look, man, I'm being really cheeky about this, and it's to prove a point here, right? I think people discredit the amount of money and service that we provide, right? Like, dude, we're pounding the phones, we're making deals happen based on people's needs, we're getting creative to put this together, we're finding them a title company. Like, working with us is as white glove as it gets, man. Like, this is a service, right? Now, if you view this as just like I just want to partner with them, I would tell you to get your realtor's license, man. That's like probably, you know, if that's the only way you think. But like, they charge a fee for the sale. What's the difference? I just negotiated off a price in terms of like, hey, I'll give you this and I keep everything over the top, right? And like, let's even reframe this for you, Ben. So let's say you get a property under contract at 40 grand, right?
Yep.
And you don't know how to sell the thing, right? And let's say I tell you, hey, dude, I'll give you 50 grand tomorrow to assign me your contract, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's some instances where you might take that deal. But let's say I go sell that thing for 100. It's different because you have an investor mindset on where you're like, well, dude, the 10 grand sounds nice, right?
Yeah.
Well, man, the seller might think the same thing. The 40 grand sounds nice, right? Not everybody is maxing out life like we are as investors, right? You probably went to school with people that were C- students. No disrespect to anybody that was, okay? But the point being, those guys aren't maxing out the opportunities in front of them. It's the same thing here. They've got an asset. They don't need to max out the opportunity in front of them. They're happy to take a C- and move on. Same thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's something I've wrestled with a lot. And I absolutely understand your take on it. I think, you know, it's just it's something that continues to kind of be like my one major hang up in land is kind of like figuring out I would like to be, yeah, I would like to be helping these people sell their property and make things good for them. And I also like want to make sure I'm not taking advantage of people who just like don't know what their property is worth. Because at some point it sounds like, you know, especially with double closing and stuff, I still can't answer the question with double closing. Why would someone not just why would they not be better off like going with a realtor? Unless like you're doing the EMD and all this other stuff on top of it.
Hey, Ben, how many properties have you sold?
4.
Okay, have you ever had a bad realtor?
One took a while, but the 3 realtors I've worked with have actually all been really, really good.
Okay, one took a while. Do you think there are bad realtors out there?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, knowing that there are bad realtors out there, you could imagine a bad experience working with one would be a reason where somebody's like, dude, this took 12 months to sell my property. There was no communication. Like, I wouldn't want to work with a realtor in that instance. Sometimes I've got to call 25 realtors to find a decent one in a market.
Yeah.
You know, that's work, right? Like, I think we're discrediting a lot of the work we do as valuable. Finding good realtors, that's a funnel. I have to find leads. I have to qualify them. They have to sell me. I have to sell them. We have to agree to work together. That's a funnel, dude. Right? People make a lot of money for funnels. If you're a Russell Brunson, that guy's the king of funnels. He's made like $1 billion online. Right?
Yeah.
Very valuable skill. And that's just one microcosm of our business. So I hear what you're saying, man. I would just tell you, like, at no point in this are we twisting anybody's arm, making them do something they don't want to do. We're simply asking good questions and removing roadblocks in their brain to actually make a decision. Like, that's how I view sales. My goal is to help people make decisions, right? If you're on the fence about making a decision, sweet, dude, either close the loop or don't, right? But I would tell you, you're 4 deals in and you're still wrestling with it, Ben. Man, can I be blunt with you?
Yeah.
You got to pick. All right. It's either ethical or it's not. And if it's not, cool, pivot businesses respectfully. And I know that's like a tough thing to hear, but like, I'm going to be real with you, man. I think we do a lot of good in the world. Am I saying I'm Mother Teresa for flipping land? Absolutely not. But there are some sellers we've genuinely helped, right? Maybe
We
not all.
don't make money on every deal.
We don't, man. We take on a lot of
I've got
risk.
properties that are sitting on the market for a year. I've got properties in litigation. I got properties that I'd like to give back to the seller. And if you lock it up for a higher price and you can't dispo it, you're not doing anybody any favors.
Yeah.
It's a great question though, man. And again, I appreciate you being vulnerable on here, right? Again, my blunt advice to you is just pick. Because if you're indecisive about whether the business you run is ethical or not, you are forever going to question micro decisions in your business that'll stop you from turning it into a real business.
Yeah. I think that's super fair.
Yeah. Now, you could say this about like, we could go down this rabbit hole for like an hour and a half, man. You could say it about solar. You could say it about insurance. You could say it about financial services, mortgages, right? Like, even selling houses to people, right? If you're a better salesman, you might sell somebody a house that they might not have made the decision on their own. But like, the reality is, man, it is easier to do nothing than it is to do something. Okay. Our goal as salespeople is to help people make decisions. That's how I view this.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is going to make decisions out of their own accord, I am going to help them do that by equipping them with information that I deem necessary. It's that simple, right? But man, I can't do that for you. And you've got your own background and life experiences and philosophies and faith. And like, I hope the best for you, man. I hope you have the best 2025 ever. But like, my advice again is just, you just got to pick. Is it ethical or not? Do some prayer, figure it out. But if you're asking this on a Zoom of 40 people, it's been in your brain for a while and like it actually bothers you, which is cool, man. That's fine. Have an ethical dilemma. It's very normal. I think we all went through it, right? Can you guys agree? Like we all went through it, right? Like we all had the thoughts at some point in time. And then we realized that what we do is very ethical and legal and normal. And as you study arbitrage and sales and marketing businesses in aggregate across the world, like this has been a function of a thing for the test of time. I mean, logistics almost do no different than what we do. We pay 20 grand for a truck to go across the country from New York to California. Is that taking advantage of people that can't ship supplies on their own? You know what I mean? It's like you can make an argument anywhere, but there's a service being provided, there's risk being taken, there's decisions being made, there's money exchanging hands. Yeah, totally, Kira. There's take on a lot of financial risk. So yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. But sweet. What other questions can I answer here, guys? Peterson, no disrespect taken. Ben, thanks, man. Really you're welcome, dude. Hey, again, like it takes a lot to come off mute and like say this in front of 40 people. So respect for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I don't want to kill the vibe of other questions.
Really, it's too late, dude.
Yeah, my bad. My bad.
Who wants to make some money taking advantage of sellers? Just kidding. Oh, this is being recorded. Someone's going to clip that. It's going to go viral. This would be great. Sweet. What other questions can I answer here, guys? Did you guys learn something today? Tell me that. Drop something in the comments if you learned something, or at least let me know what a takeaway was. Because yes, I'm telling you what I do and how I help investors. But I wanted to make sure there was some real value before I did that. So you guys knew, like I'm not just here to take, right? I want everybody that came here, you gave me an hour and a half of your time, almost 2 hours now. I want to make sure this is a valuable thing for you. Sweet. All right. Well, like I said, it's 5:49 right now. You guys have till the end of the day to decide. I think I already saw 2 people pay while on the Zoom, which is crazy. So shout out to y'all. So there's 3 spots left. If you guys are interested, like I said, prices are going up after this. This is my last cohort I'm taking on for a while because I don't want it to get too crazy. You're getting a free ticket to the Land Scaling Summit 2025. If you haven't checked out our site, it's pretty fun, landscalingsummit.com. I might have an early bird promo going on if you want to check that out, but save it down, September 19th and 20th here in Dallas. If not, I'll see you guys Mondays at 4 p.m. Central. And obviously I'll keep doing free trainings for all of y'all that maybe aren't at a place yet where you can invest in your business. But appreciate you guys. I don't see any other questions. So I'm happy to hang out here for a minute if anybody has anything. But if not, you're all free to go. Thanks so much for coming.
Ajay, if people are cruising and there's not a time thing, I'm curious to know, how does mail was kind of your last one that you talked about. How does your program work for people who primarily deal with direct mail and blind offers primarily? Because a lot of kind of what you were saying was, you want an asking price out of them first. And if you've already given them a blind offer in the mail, that's kind of a different conversation, I would imagine.
Yeah, man, no, totally. It's really not that different, to be honest. There's like a slight tweak at the beginning. But generally speaking, like once a lead comes in, blind offers are so qualified, it's easier than the others, man. And 2 guys in our community that do blind offers really well. Josh Pierce does blind offers. He crushes with it. He's on here. Dan Larson does blind offers. He crushes with it. So the sales training is universal, man. You could, again, like I said, I've done on market. I've done a lot of off market PPL, PPC, PPL's pay per lead. We've done Facebook ads. We've done direct mail. We've done blind offers, neutral letters, ranged offers. We've done text message, cold call. We've done a lot of that stuff in-house. Dude, I've got a headset here I've put on and pounded cold calls before. Like we've done RVMs and closed deals. So the script's the same pretty much all throughout. We might just tweak one question up front, man. What I would tell you, Ben, is if you're getting leads consistently and you want to close more of them, this is a great community for you, man.
Yeah, cool. And that for the mail and stuff, you were saying for that, it's a kind of more of a minimum of that 20,000 a month.
If your goal is to be clipping 6-figure months, that's about the numbers that I see. So like, I'm not saying you can't run a business under that, right?
Sure.
But if you're wanting consistent 6-figure months, I play it by the numbers, man. And it's if you send out 20,000 letters, you're going to get about 100 offers. Give me a standard deviation of 20. Okay. And from there, assuming good follow up and sales process, I should be able to make about 80% of offers on whatever number comes back. So if I have 100 leads, I should be able to make 80 offers, and I should be able to close about 10% of that pretty consistently. On direct mail, I actually see it a little bit higher. I've seen, I know some guys doing as high as 16%. We've done as high as 27 on some of our mail campaigns. So, you'd be shocked at how much good scripting and negotiations can really move the needle in that stuff, right? But the point being, yes, it works. And I'm trying to remember if I'm answering your last question instead of your current one right now.
No, yeah, because I was talking about you wanted to get a asking price from them first, and you've kind of already
Yeah,
took your hand with the blind offer. So
totally.
that goes a little bit, but you could
Yeah,
probably
so
do your looping and other stuff.
totally. So call comes back, right? First question I might ask is, hey Ben, you receive our letter? Yeah. Well, let me ask, like, did you have any feedback about what was on there? Right? Like, I might ask, oh, like maybe the first question I always ask with marketing, especially mail, is like, hey, what about our mailer stood out? What made you want to reach out? And they're going to
Yeah.
reference the price, right? Well, it looked really professional, and I did see the price on here. Okay, got it. Did you have any questions about that price? Right? And now we're like having a conversation, and they're either going to say, yeah, I want more money, or they're going to be like, well, does that include closing clause? And if it's too high, I have a whole reoffer script we just went over on a training yesterday, actually, for a long time. So when you need to renegotiate a contract and how you do that successfully, and how we've done it to add tens of thousands of dollars to some deals.
Yeah. Sweet.
Cool, man. Are you legitimately thinking about signing up, or are you more so just asking?
No, I'm legitimately thinking about it. I'm kind of on that precipice that you were talking about, where it's kind of like, am I in or am I out? And I mean, we've worked with some people that I really like, and I've had some surprising conversations with people. I do feel like there's this element in my head where I'm like, I'm worried about taking advantage of people, and therefore I'm kind of like, projecting that into the future. But I haven't had anyone that we've worked with being like, you're taking advantage of me. It's like completely like this. I'm trying to get in front of that, like, own objection in, like you do objection handling, you get it up front, and I'm kind of like trying to do it with myself.
Yeah, so this is good. So Ben, I wanna push you here, and you're gonna get a little like one-on-one, even though we've got 20 of our best friends on here. So cool thing here, man, is man, you are saying you're getting ahead of an objection, right? But you also oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, you just moved on my screen.
I
You're saying
got
you're
you.
getting ahead of an objection, but you're saying you've never gotten the objection. Okay. So if you've never gotten it, is it an objection?
I'm trying to I'm trying to get ahead of an objection, like, that I in my own head, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's not an actual objection from the sellers, because like the people who are mad at the mail, I
Right.
understand, like, that just happens. They're gonna be mad
Yep.
regardless. Um, but I guess it's like, all could be good and well. I'm trying to figure it out, and this is like the question that I just haven't been able to answer. And I asked you, and I think you did a really good job handling it. But like, I need to have this answer from in myself. But it's like, if I made, you know $1 million this year, like if I had a bunch of 6-figure months, but at the end of it, I felt like I was taking advantage of people. Like, at the end of the day, like, would it all be worth it? And I almost like I don't necessarily want to go down that whole road, and then kind of like at the end of it be like, I have just put a ton of money in my own pocket and like potentially hurt all these people out there. But if I'm not hurting them, if I'm really providing a service that I can at the end of the day be like, yeah, like all the people who have worked with us are probably better off because they've worked with us, then I would love to go all in with your program to really kind of like push forward and be all in, because I'm in land, and I have, like I said, several deals that have gone. I mean, the spreads are way better than I would have dreamed of. A few of them are like 100K spreads, but
Let's go. Congrats.
like, but at the same time, it's like I want to make sure that, like, if I were to see these people on the street, if I were to like run into them, like, that we would be amicable and like having a good conversation, and rather than being like, I just heard, with double closing, or like, people like feeling like they're taken advantage of. I'm overly sensitive to like the horror stories of land investing, and like probably have overreacted and swung like trying to protect sellers from what I could be, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense, man. I'm gonna leave you just like with one more metaphor. And then I really just want you to sit on it because like, dude, I've got a pretty strong faith. I like want to believe, live my life super ethically. And like I believe wholeheartedly that what we do is a net positive for society because it brings liquidity to an illiquid market. Okay.
Yep.
You can make a lot of arguments around that. Now, what I'll say to you is this: no seller that you talk to is unaware that you're a business. Let's start there. And I don't conduct business with many businesses that don't run a for-profit business. Okay.
Yeah.
If I bought a car from a dealership, I'm well aware the dealership's making money. If I buy a coffee at Starbucks, I know Starbucks is making money. And I'm not going to run into my barista and be like, bro, you made $4 off my coffee, right? Like, I'm gonna be like, dude, it's the cost of doing business. I agreed to do business with you, right? And I was like that even before I was a business person. You just get it. You know, other people make money. It's what keeps the world go round. That's business, man. So I let sellers know I run a for-profit business. And a lot of them tell us, I know you got to make your money. Point blank. You probably had a conversation where somebody said that to you already. And if you haven't, I'll tell you they're coming, Ben. Okay. So like I promise you, man, these guys aren't not privy to us making money. Okay. Like it's you're telling yourself stories in your head more than anything else. What I would tell you, I saw a couple kids in the background, man. If you got to the end of this and had a few $1,000,000 in your bank account, I promise you would regret that less than wonder if like, oh, Joe and Sally wish they had an extra 30K in their bank. And if you really had that on your conscience with one specific deal and you made a mountain of money, wire it back to him, my guy. That's what I would tell you. If nothing is worth your peace is an expression that I have been living by much more aggressively this past year. And yeah, man, nothing's worth your peace. But I think you're fabricating this yourself. You're creating some of your own anxieties, man. I would tell you to just commit to it for the year, have a killer year, have your best year in land. And when you get to the end of it, if you still feel this way, cool, dude. Money's in your account. You can always give some back. Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. That's the expression I always went by. But you're already in the business, man. I would tell you to commit. And if you get to the other side of it and don't like who you are, they aren't irreversible decisions. It's just money in the bank.
Yeah. That's real, man.
Sweet, man.
I really appreciate it. I know, like I said, I didn't I didn't mean to crash your question session or put a bunch on things. It's just it's I have this this thing that I'm going back and forth, and I love this business and so much of it, and I also just I don't know why it's a hurdle for me.
It's all good, man. It's all good. I get it. We'll sit on it. I would encourage you to sign up. I think you'd be a great addition to the community. It's 6 p.m. here now, but I think we'd have some really fun just working through some things together, man. But hey, that decision's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I think if your goal is to make more money this year, good sales is a way to do that. If you don't like who you are with it, I promise you'll close at least one more deal doing it if you take enough action. You can stop after that. You know what I mean? So
totally.
Sweet.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate it, and I will be seriously, chewing on this and considering, and let you know for sure.
Sweet, man. Sounds like a plan. I'll see you on Monday. Peter said, hey, how long is the cohort? Peter, it's a year, dude. 1 year for $5,000, my friend. Are you asking like how long is the cohort in terms of how long it's open? I do need to jump for 6 p.m. y'all, so I gotta go. Peter, you got my number, dude. Text me with any questions. But 1 year, 5K, you get a bonus one-on-one, you get a bonus ticket to the Land Scaling Summit this fall, $1,097 for the ticket, so pretty good value. And yeah, man, cohort's open till the end of the night. So let me know. But see you guys. Thanks. Appreciate you being on.